I remember the exact moment my world quietly rearranged itself. It wasn't cinematic, no floating lights, no choir of angels, just one ordinary Thursday night. My phone face down, the hum of the fridge, and me stubbornly telling myself that out of body experiences were for gullible people and late night documentaries. If you're watching this, maybe you felt that same tug between curiosity and skepticism. Maybe you've rolled your eyes at people who say they left their body. Or maybe you secretly wish it could happen to you. This is the story of how I went from rolling my eyes to being face to face with something I couldn't explain away. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll understand what happened, why it shook me, and how it changed everything I thought I knew about reality. It starts with sleep, or more accurately, the threshold between sleep and wake. I had been working late for days, eyes burning, caffeine like a second bloodstream. That kind of exhaustion makes your mind thin, like window glass, easy to see through. I lay down and told myself I'd just rest for 20 minutes. The first thing I noticed was a humming. Not a sound you hear with ears, but a pressure you feel behind your eyes, a kind of low electrical buzz. If you've read about lucid dreaming or hypnagogic states, you know this feeling. At the time, I had names for everything: neurology, REM cycles, sleep paralysis myths. I was a skeptic armed with Google. Then sensation doubled. My limbs felt warm, but not heavy, or like they belonged to someone else. My chest rose and fell, but the rise and fall felt distant, like watching a video of someone breathing. Panic tried to crash in because that's what panic does when your brain tells you your body is failing. Instead, something odd happened. A calm curiosity took over. I found myself imagining, with crystal clarity, the ceiling above me, the pattern of the paint, the shadow by the lamp. The details were sharper than memory. I thought, okay, that's weird. And then I felt my perspective tilt. It was subtle at first, a gentle loosening, like stepping back from a photograph. Then I realized I could see my own body. Not through my eyes, but from a vantage point just above my chest. I could see the rise and fall of my ribs. I could see the cat curled at my feet, or rather, the idea of the cat. My mind, which had been so sure of physical laws, suddenly had a new set of coordinates. I was both in my room and not contained by it. For a second, an eternal heartbeat, I thought I was having a dream within a dream. You know how some moments feel small when you're in them, only to swell into epic significance later? This was one of those. The first minutes were a curious mix of wonder and analysis. My skeptic brain was trying to label everything: hypnagogia, dissociation, false awakening. But there was a richness to the vision that felt different from ordinary dreaming. Tactile clarity, emotional intensity, a sense of intentional movement. I focused on a lamp across the room and felt it tug, like attention itself was a thread I could pull. I shifted, and I realized I could navigate without touching anything. Turning felt like thinking in a straight line. A part of me cataloged this: no muscles, no audible footsteps, no waking scream from my own chest. Another part of me simply tasted awe. Then the strangest part. I felt a presence. Not in the spooky Hollywood sense, but as if the air itself thickened and a friendly attention settled beside me. The presence didn't speak with words, it conveyed something closer to meaning. If I had to put it into language, it was a soft, non-judging curiosity, like an old friend who knows you better than you know yourself. I remember the warmth of it, comforting, not invasive. For someone who had always wanted absolute proof before believing anything, this was proof of a different kind. Immediate, subjective verification that my experience had depth. At some point, a memory rose. Funny how memories appear in odd contexts, of childhood curiosity about invisible worlds. The way sunlight through dust looked like a million tiny universes. Maybe it primed me. Maybe my brain had rehearsed this for years in the attic of my subconscious. Whatever the cause, that memory melded with the present, And I felt a deep, unasked question answer itself. What if consciousness is not limited to the meat and bones container we call the body? You're probably thinking about physics, materialism, or all those rational explanations. I was too. For the first hour, I don't know how long, time bent strangely, I ran my skeptic checklist in my head. Could I control this state? Could I return? Was this a hallucination? Each experiment I tried produced consistent feedback. I could focus on a picture on my wall, and the minute details sharpened. I tried to push through the ceiling, not physically, of course, but with intent, and I, remarkably, felt movement upward, then a soft pause, as if hitting a membrane. I thought of home and felt the memory of it like a scent. None of this fit neatly into the idea that my neurons were simply misfiring. Then came a moment of fear. Curiosity and fear are close relatives. I thought about waking up and not being able to return, about losing footing in my own existence. The panic began to climb, but the calming presence steadied me. It wasn't an external hand, it was a felt guidance, an internal compass. In that instant, I understood a small but seismic truth. The experience didn't want to trap me. It seemed almost to offer a choice: stay or return, learn or forget. Experience felt like a teacher with a gentle voice, not a captor with chains. I chose to return because, I'll confess, the practical part of me, the job, the rent, the relationships, insisted. Coming back was not a jolt, but a sliding, like merging lanes on a highway. My awareness contracted back into bone and muscle, and when my eyes opened, I felt a residue of that other presence fluttering like a flag. My chest tightened with something between grief and gratitude. I lay there for a long time, counting breaths, listening to the mundane sounds of the apartment like they were new instruments. The skeptic in me wanted to write it off. The human in me wanted to kneel. That night, I didn't sleep well. I lay awake, cataloging, replaying, trying to map the rules of whatever I had encountered. Hours of research followed in the next days. Late-night dives through neuroscience, phenomenology, accounts from people who had reported similar experiences. Patterns emerged: thresholds at sleep onset or recovery from trauma, the role of sensory deprivation, cultural frameworks that shape interpretation. Yet even the most rigorous studies couldn't zero in on the felt quality, the undeniable vividness that was neither imagination nor ordinary dreaming. When I told my closest friend, their face did that thing people's faces do when they're accounting for all the invisible variables: supportive curiosity mixed with a small, protective skepticism. I liked that. It kept me honest. I told other people too, slowly and selectively, because the world has a cruel habit of turning intimate transformations into spectacle. Some laughed, some shared similar stories, some offered studies and citations that made sense. The diversity of reactions taught me something important. Belief is not binary. People nearest to these experiences often exist on a spectrum between doubt and meaning, and where they land depends on context, culture, and emotional readiness. What changed for me wasn't just belief in the phenomenon itself. It was a shift in how I approach mystery. Before this, I chased certainty, conclusive evidence, testable hypotheses, boxes I could label. Afterwards, I realized there are experiences that demand a different kind of attention. Not ignorance, nor blind faith, but a disciplined openness. If reality is a house with rooms we haven't entered, my out-of-body experience was opening a door with no keyhole, something that invites exploration with curiosity and skepticism holding hands. So what practical things did I take away? First, that posture matters, not in some mystical posture of truth way, but in the sense that the body's relaxation and the mind's direction act as a pair. For those curious enough to explore similar states safely, learning about hypnagogia, those moments between wakefulness and sleep, can be useful. Mindfulness techniques, breathwork, and grounding exercises are essential because panic can turn a gentle threshold into a nightmare. Second, anchor practices are everything. After the experience, I developed small rituals to integrate the insight: writing immediately, sharing with a trusted friend, and using a grounding sensory cue like squeezing a stone to reconnect the felt memory to the present body. These aren't magical rules, they're practical tools to prevent dissociation from turning into disorientation. There's also ethics here. Experiences like this can alter how you relate to others. You see fragility differently. You feel compassion as less of an idea, more like a natural reflex. I caught myself listening harder, offering less immediate judgment, and being less inclined to force certainty onto ambiguous things. That mattered. It's easy to get lost chasing an explanation. Far more meaningful, I found, was learning how the experience changed the way I showed up in the world. I've returned to that state a few times since that night. Each time it's slightly different, sometimes more vivid, sometimes subtle,